I've just got some apologies and things. First of all, so we'll go there. Councillor Hannaway stood down from his position, so we have a vacancy for Medcar and Cleveland Borough Council. Councillor Kane has submitted apologies, with Councillor Ray attending the substitute, so welcome Dave. Councillor McKay has submitted apologies, and Councillor Kay has also submitted apologies. Do we have any more? None at all, thank you. It's been a while since our last meeting, so I've just got some updates.
For it, Chair.
Sorry?
For it.
Yeah, we are. Well, sorry. It's been a while since our last meeting, so I've got some updates about what we've been doing since then. The result of our workshop chat in January with the LGA was passed. Our notes were passed, and our concerns were also passed on the improvement board and the senior management team here, TCA, as well as HMCLG. When it considered the best value notice, we were all aware that the best value notice was extended, but no time frame has been put on the extension of the best value notice, which kind of leaves us hanging with no understandable targets, which isn't ideal. I'll be meeting with Tom when he returns from his holiday about that. Me and Rachel met with Sarah Walker, who is the Director of Business Solutions. We had a good, frank discussion on their portfolio. We also met with one of the managers in charge of adult education. I intended a cabinet meeting in January, where it is more and more apparent that cabinet members are now taking a much more interest in their areas, and they all definitely are working together, which is a huge improvement to where we was 12 months ago. In February, we welcomed our new monitoring officer, acting monitoring officer, Jeanette, and while I did meet her in the cabinet meeting in January, we had a good one-to-one meeting, get to know session later in February. In March, Rachel was a member of the interview panel for Chief Finance Officer, and I was a member for the interview panel for the Permanent Monitoring Officer. Sadly, both interview days resulted in no suitable candidates. Well, that does show, in my opinion, that the authority has agreed a really high standard for essential staff. Again, we'll have discussions with Tom about making progress on that when he gets back from his holiday. I also met with Sarah Brattenborough, who's here today. Sarah is the Director of Operations here at TVCA, and she's also the Senior Responsible Officer for our, excuse me while I've lost my notes, she's a Senior Responsible Officer for this committee. We had a good 2-hour session, and Sarah definitely was trying to understand how she and TVCA staff could assist our committee in the work that we do. Of course, we had an online meeting with Rob Whiteman, Chair of the Improvement Board, where we agreed that our committee should have been consulted in his idea of what TVCA have improved. I'll be keeping a careful eye on the work that Rob and his board are doing and what consultations they're having. I do plan to delve more deeply into this, because I do and start considering the cost of that board and whether it constitutes good value, because I'm not convinced at the moment that it does. After reports in the press and elsewhere, I had a lengthy email exchange with Tom, Ben and all cabinet members regarding the transport budget and accountability, especially in mayoral development corporations where scrutiny of them could be lacking. After the discussion with Tom, when he gets back again, my plans are to write to the Secretary of State explaining my concerns on scrutiny of the development corporations. I personally want to thank Connor as our statutory scrutiny officer, who goes about his work without fear or favour, as scrutiny officers should. I bug him constantly, and I know Rachel also does.
And me.
Yeah, and others, yeah.
And me.
Perfect. The government, I think, is starting to make clear that in general scrutiny should be also beefed up, with authorities possibly having to provide more staff to assist in our work. Also want to thank the two services, the directors who have both made themselves available to me and Rachel and others, where no subject out of bounds. We'll have planned for future meetings with Jonathan Spruce and Craig Peacock, two other directors, meaning that our committee will always be at the forefront of all directors' thoughts. I also want to make clear that Ben has always been available to me for any discussions, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, while there's still quite a long way to go, there's no doubt that the governance of this authority has improved immeasurably in the last 12 months. And before we move on, I just want to remind members that we're in pre-election period, obviously Hartlepool currently in election fever. So even though we all acknowledge that this committee is apolitical, I'll ask members not to make any political points today in today's meeting. Okay? That's my report to committee. Have anyone got any questions on that? David? Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to know where we were on the transport and funding issue. I think you said something to me about it privately, but I just wondered if you could confirm where we are with those monies.
Yeah, we had quite a lengthy exchange with Tom. What I'll do is I will forward the last email that we've received from Tom to all the committee members, which explains the position of the transport budget.
Right.
Okay, I've accepted what Tom said, and
so you'll send an email.
I'll send all members a copy of that email so they can see exactly how that's finished. Ian?
Thanks, Chair. On the best value, well, both reports that were external reviews that were done, we were struggling to get the clarity around the role of scrutiny, and it's been a long time still trying to get that clarity. And I took a real interest, as you know, in your conversation about the scrutiny process and that, and MDCs. They're not the development, all of them. So I've done quite a lot of research and looked at the governance, CPG, governance, whatever you call it, and look at their recommendations and the legislation. And it's like, it's a real hard work reading the legislation and understanding it. But I go back to the points that were made a couple of years ago, to be fair. The legislation in government still says that the scrutiny can do what we wanted to do if we do it right. But we've not been able to do that for various reasons. No disrespect to any officers or anybody that works in this building, it's just the way it's gone. No pointing fingers at anybody, I just think it's just the way it's gone. Because it's very difficult. You know, we had legal advice from people all over the world, all over the country rather. But when you read it, when you read the governance and the legislation, it says this scrutiny committee has the same power of investigation as a local authority.
Yes.
Even though we operate differently. And it still says that investigations of the use of public money was within the realm of scrutiny investigation, which is openness and transparency. But it still doesn't feel like we've moved that extra inch to be able to say, right, I know we can only ask people to attend from development corporations, and we need their cooperation for them to do that. You can't insist on it. Looking at conversations that's gone on in a broader area, I'm pleased that we are moving, but I still think we need to ensure that we get that final inch to allow this scrutiny to have the openness and transparency that the residents out there expect. And I don't know how, I haven't worked out in my own head yet how we're going to negotiate that is probably the right word. But I think there needs to be a better understanding of what the governance says we can do, what the legislation says we can do, and what we think we can do. And I think we're on the way there, but I think we still need a bit more push to get that feeling of openness and transparency. It's been a long time, I've been here since day one, sort of, and it's been a long time since I've had that feeling that we finally got to the top of the ladder to make a difference. I just sort of want to make that point, Chair.
Can I say something? I think hopefully this actually helps. There is a significant amount of change due with the devolution bill. I was intending to provide a brief update on it anyway, but thankfully your questions lead into it quite nicely. So there is a significant intention for value for money to become a stronger focus of scrutiny. So I don't know if you recall last year, there was a lot of discussion around local public accountability committees. the government seems to have moved away from that and merged that with what they want Scrutiny to now do. So I attended a session a few weeks ago with MHCLG where they've discussed how they want to improve local scrutiny committees, which is how, so generally the term is just going to be LSC. They want to bolster the legislation to ensure that committees are more active and are capable of doing more, including more abilities such as sanctions for members. So I'm not entirely au fait on where they are with this petition, so it's very early stages of what they've discussed with us. But a lot of the areas you've discussed there are areas that the government are actively considering and have been informing us that they are looking to change through the devolution bill. So as more information comes out that is public facing, I'll share it so you're updated on their intentions, where they plan to move things forward. I think the earliest amendments look to be April next year, which will come around incredibly quickly, as you can imagine. But as I say, as more details come out, I'll provide them. One of the areas that might be of interest is there's an intention to allow residents to submit petitions to scrutiny committees and combined authorities. The threshold is under 1%. That's obviously potentially subject to change, and there'll be safeguards around petitions, but they are looking at ensuring that residents have more of a voice when it comes to scrutiny committees. The committee itself has more of an opportunity to hold members to account. So if you call the mayor in, for example, he doesn't attend for valid reasoning, it could be subject to fines. So I do think there has been a national shift in the sort of route for scrutiny, and they are hopefully, through the devolution bill, going to address a lot of the concerns and strengthen the committee itself. So I hope that helps with some of the answers, and I'll provide as much information as I can when it comes out.
Yes, I agree, the future's looking brighter, and the downside for me on that is I'm done next year, so I probably won't be here to see it happen. 32 years is long enough for anybody.
It certainly is. It certainly is. It's why I said, Councillor Iselin, that I plan to write to the Secretary of State regarding mayoral development corporations and the lack of available scrutiny. Because the way it works at the moment, the mayor is responsible to scrutinise mayoral development corporations, not the scrutiny committee. It's our job to scrutinise the mayor, but the mayor, the legal position at the moment is the mayor is the scrutiny of mayoral development corporations.
The doors are still open.
Yeah, no,
by asking
it's not ideal. Absolutely, it's not ideal, and that's why I'll be writing to the Secretary of State. Yeah.
And see how that could work.
Okay. Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, just on that point, please. When you, because I've worked in the transport with you, conversation with Tom intention, like Secretary of State,
yeah.
Are you writing on behalf of the committee? If so, will the committee see your note sent off so they're in agreement, or are you writing from yourself as an individual? Because it's important to the committee what they're citing, and they're in agreement with the points we tried to raise. Yeah.
It's really difficult because we meet about 5 times a year, so we can't really wait until the next meeting to make progress. Otherwise, we don't get anywhere. To be fair, say it's January since we last met, and a lot have gone on since then. Yeah. The good example is that obviously I brought to Ben. I always include Ben in any if I can, so you can see what I'm doing, if you like. But I wrote to Tom, mainly to Tom and the cabinet members, but I included Ben as a cabinet member regarding the transport stuff, because I had huge concerns that there's over £100 million was potentially going to be, at least the way it was first written was £100 million was going to be handed over to Stockton-on-Tees Development Corporation, transport money. We don't have any oversight of what Stockton-on-Tees Development Corporation does. So I had a huge concern over that. So I wrote to Tom and the member of the committee asking them to vote against that proposal. Well, we've since found out, or we've since agreed that actually the wording of the original proposal wasn't correct, and so it's been out in the press that and social media that that £100 million being handed over to the South-Tees Development Corporation. That's not quite true. So the sort of challenge on that, and I think we now have a better understanding of what's actually happening with that money. The money is for transport, and it's agreed by this committee, by this authority, not South-Tees Development Corporation.
Yeah, I'm just mindful, you know, we do read periodically, but
I'm more than happy to include anything I write.
Goes off because you know you might raise things there that other committee members.
Okay, well I'm more than happy to have an email discussion on that with members of the committee, and then we can come to consensus before it's sent off to the Secretary of State.
I'm mindful that this committee speaks as a voice.
Yeah.
One voice rather than.
Sure.
Sort of potentially.
Okay. What I'll do is through Connor, once we've got an email put together, I'll ask him to send all members, and then hopefully we'll get. Obviously, we'll have to put some time frame to get a reply.
I'm fine about that. It's just, you know, that you get the consensus from the committee.
Perfect. We'll do that. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Jim.
Yeah, I can see where Tony's coming from there, but I think there is a commonality that I've picked up. I don't know whether we've actually had a vote in it. Is that we all feel that the development corporations are a bit too distant, and the way that they're legally set up, you know, is such that there isn't a democratic oversight that there should be. Obviously, the mayoral bodies, and you know, there's been a move on that the mayor no longer chairs them, because I often wondered how you can scrutinise yourself or hold yourself to account. But there are mayoral appointments to the board as well. So you know, there is a democratic element which is missing, and I think we would all, if we're all Democrats, elected in our various councils and used to democratic structures within our councils, and accountability and call-in and all those facilities, that we would want that applied to. We would want that principle, if not the actual detail of that practice, applied to the development corporations. And I think if your letter doesn't underline that, that's what I would want you to do. Your proposed letter.
Well, that's the purpose of the letter.
I gathered that's what it would be, but I appreciate, you know, that it would be better if we were all singing from the same song sheet. But I think we are on the general principle, unless anybody's going to speak up against it now.
David?
Can I ask a simple question? If we look at the South-Tees Development Corporation, it had presumably some objectives that it was seeking to meet. At some stage or another, presumably, we need to look at what those objectives were and what its performance has been so far. Now, I don't really know what the time scale is here, but is there a point at which we do that, or have we done that?
No, but legally, the development corporations are answerable to the mayor. That's it. So the mayor is satisfied with the way development corporations are behaving and progressing. That's it. We can question the mayor whether we think whether we agree with him, but we can't question what the development corporations are doing. That's for the mayor to question.
I'm not questioning what the development corporations do. I'm trying to find out what the development corporations do.
Well, we can ask the mayor.
In other words, I'd like to know, this was what we were planning. This is what the outcome is. Because I mean, I'm not necessarily going to criticise. Sometimes there may be, it may well be, it's something in process. But it would be useful for us to have some idea how successful it's been so far.
Yeah, they have got master plans, but again, it's up to the mayor to be satisfied with that. We've got mayoral question time. We can all ask questions with the mayor and whether he's satisfied on how his development corporations are.
What I'm asking is, when's it and how is it reported?
It's reported to the mayor.
Is it reported to us?
That's quite.
I'll let Sarah stop.
Do we know what it's done, basically? It's no good as whether we think it's a success.
But they do report, obviously.
I think just a few points of clarification. Obviously, the Development Corporation has its own board as well. Obviously, the mayor is no longer chair of that, but it does have its own chair, just like each three of the development corporations do. So reports on what the Development Corporation is doing does go to that board, and it operates in the same way as any public body, that those papers are published in advance.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yes, so there is an STDC
But
board
when's the next
of members
publication?
of that board. I'd have to check that one, David, and I can come back to you on when its next board meeting.
That's what I was after. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the meeting as agendaed. So any declarations of interest? Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting held on the 14th of January. Can we approve a true record?
Agreed.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the work programme. Do you want to take over that, Connor?
Yeah, happy to do so.
Thank you.
So I'll just get the papers up. So I'll generally take the report and the supporting appendices as read. Obviously, the recommendation is it's an opportunity for the committee to review, amend as required, and approve the proposed work programme set out in Appendix A. I want to be clear here, all I've done is provide a skeletal to say this is generally where meetings would be set. We may have additional areas. There might be some parts that have been missed, or dates that you wish to change or amend in the future. So obviously it's an opportunity now for the committee to take consideration to this. It has been developed in line with the terms of reference and the improved consideration of 2-year work programming. So there's a lot of advanced dates, and I appreciate that some of them may fall after different sets of election periods, but it's in line with the terms of reference of the committee. So I'll pass it back over to yourself, Chair, and then try to put those through.
Thanks. The only query I've got, and we've got to clear with the monitoring officers, we plan to have a mayoral question time on the 29th of April this year, and that's during pre-election period. So it may well be that that might have to change, the date of that might have to change, but we'll get that cleared with the monitoring officers as soon as we can. Lynn?
Yeah, just looking at the at the draft overviews and the work programme, it's just on really David's point and the general conversation about South-Tees development or mayoral development corporations and what the objectives were. And you did say that we should maybe, or we could ask the mayor questions. I'm not sure whether that would give us enough information and an ability to scrutinise. Can we not add another mayoral question time only on that subject?
Well,
is there any way
we could request, but the Constitution
Request.
says that we have to have 2 mayoral question times a year. So we can certainly request it, but we wouldn't necessarily get an affirmative answer. So that's where we are. But again, this committee doesn't have any oversight over the development corporations whatsoever.
I understand that through you, Chair, but I think all members would like to have more oversight, and if there's a way through this committee that we can do that by adding another meeting in, then I'd like to think we could.
It's not
because we won't get it through the mayoral question time, let's be honest.
Yeah. So, as I say, any officers within the combined authority or the mayor himself can be compelled to attend scrutiny to take questions on their roles and within it. So, say Jeanette, as the monitoring officer, is technically monitoring officer of the development corporation, so you can call her in, or any relevant officer that works within them. Where it comes to entities like South-Tees Development Corporation, their offices are separate from the organisation. So you could ask, say, John Barnes as the chief exec of STDC to attend, but you may not.
Didn't have to.
Yeah, so doesn't have to. I think one of the things that we need to be mindful here as well is the audit committee currently has the branch system across. So the main TBC Audit and Governance Committee, a member from that, sits on each of the Development Corporation's Audit and Governance Committees. So they're a link back through. That was approved last year or the year before. So I believe for South-Tees, Councillor Grogan attends the TBC Audit and Governance Committee, but then also sits as the combined authority representative on the Development Corporation's Audit and Governance Committee, because that's the only committee they're legally required to have outside of the board. There is, as Councillor Blazer said, there is nothing saying that you can't add it to the work programme, but as you sort of rightly pointed out, there's a certain level of questions, and I think we could probably do sessions outside of this, and we've been in conversations separately to try and arrange some form of tour, or get things down.
Presentation and then questions.
Well, exactly, because I think there's, I'm sure members have said this to me previously, the last time they saw the site was when it was operational, and they've not had an opportunity to actually see the work that's progressed there, because you see the outside, you don't see the inside and how it's developing. So we are trying to progress to engage that relationship separately anyway. But just to say that it's the development corporations aren't without some form of scrutiny. The audit committee does have that connection, and whilst this committee itself doesn't have direct oversight, it's not to say that there isn't scrutiny that goes on.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that the three development corporations, me and Rachel, or either both of us or one of us, have met the chair of two of the development corporations, the Middlesbrough and the Hartlepool development corporations. We've met the chairs and we've had discussions. We've requested to meet with the South-Tees Development Corporation chair. We're currently still having discussions on that, and I think there possibly might be, we might get, as a committee, we might get invited over to the development corporate, South-Tees, and to have a look around and see what they're doing. But that's still negotiations. They don't have to accommodate us, but I think hopefully that they will shortly.
Sorry, just on that.
Yeah.
We haven't met the new chair of the Hartlepool Development.
No, we haven't. Yeah, it was the previous chair. Hartlepool Development Corporation. We haven't yet met the.
I mean,
of course.
obviously.
Yeah, but of course, the chair also attends cabinet, and we do see her at cabinet.
Yeah.
So she is available.
Yeah. Oh, she'll maybe.
Yeah. David.
Yeah, I just want to make a point I made several months ago. It's public money that goes into the South-Tees Development Corporation. We have a duty as a local authority organisation, which is what we are, to ensure that that public money is spent properly. Regardless of what the statutory situation is, we are certainly entitled to check up to see whether the South-Tees Development Corporation is running properly. We would be failing in our duty if we didn't. And therefore, I think it's fairly clear that we can do that. We need to have the statistics, which is why I asked when the report comes up. We may not have detailed ability to ask individuals, but we have the right to ask the mayor, are you happy that this corporation is succeeding or not? And we shouldn't for 1 minute believe that we don't have that power. We most certainly do.
Yeah, well, I've made that clear that we can ask the mayor. John?
Yeah, just linking David's comments to what Conor was outlining there about the A&G representation on STDC's scrutiny. My recollection is that when we had Jody here as an interim, in an interim post, he was going to seek cross-pollination, if you like, of our A&G committee and this committee to enable us to work closer together. Now it seems to me that that could still be an opportunity to scrutinise the development corporations, particularly STDC, because without your involvement, Chair, with your forensic examination, WhatsApp trail, email trail, I wouldn't have been aware of that environment of £100 million of public money. Yeah. So I do think we need to build a layer in there.
So I think this draws back to a lot of the development work that the committee has done. We have established the MOU with audit and governance. We're obviously just in the early stages of developing how that's going to look, trying to be reasonable because we have to obviously be mindful that chairs may change, memberships may change. We can't impose too much on the roles and the functions with the capacity of members. There has to be a level of realism here. You are all councillors in your own authorities. You may work outside of that, and then you're attending these meetings as well. Have to be mindful that there's only so many hours in a day. But as I say, with the chair of A&G, chair of ONS, we are working through how things are going to look and how we'll have that referral system. And as I've sort of said, there is already a bit of a bolstered relationship there with the audit and governance committees. And Jodie did discuss some of those areas about intentions to change, and through the governance improvements we are looking at how we can make some of those lines of sight a bit easier across the organisation and how we can communicate better. One of the things that we've explored with Rachel is a shared area for members of the Scrutiny Committee. So where we, say I get individual requests for information, sometimes I think actually, although Councillor Pallister might have asked for it, the rest of the committee could benefit from it. So rather than asking you to share with, apologies for putting you as an example, it's easier to say, members, we have this shared area, we'll drop information as and when it's available, and it's easier to access. So we have temporarily piloted it. We're just trying to work around a few of the issues and to make it a bit easier so you feel like you can access what you need when you need to access it. And it's just a bit generally easier for everybody.
We'll do Glyn and we'll do Ian next. So Glyn first.
Yeah. Am I being a bit suspicious, but there's a lot of obfuscation been going on in this particular issue. And I think we established that you mentioned democracy, you mentioned, Councillor Branson, you mentioned the principle of public money being spent and ensuring that it is spent properly. I mean, it's a bit like Old President's Men, isn't it? Follow the money. And in specific instances, these mayoral corporations are likely to be spending public money. So it's perfectly reasonable to expect that this committee should be able to follow the money. And in fact, I think there's a wider issue as well, because certainly don't get me on academies, because they're spending public money, and where are they being scrutinised? But there must be also other areas of public money that this combined authority is spending. For example, in tertiary education, and we need to find out whether that money is being effectively spent as well in the skills and development area. So I think we should establish the principle that this committee has the right to follow the money, the public money, as a basic principle of accountability and democracy. And I think we should go to it. We've talked about it for so long, and I think it's important that we actually do the job and pick an issue and start to have a go at it.
I think that's the point of me writing to the Secretary of State is because sometimes we can't do that, and that's because the way the law is written at the moment. But as Conor said, the government are looking at changing the scrutiny protocol and the devolution bill. So hopefully that's to come. But obviously we can. This is our chance for us to get our word in with the Secretary of State before the laws are changed.
Can I just add a good point as well? I'm the chairman of the Resources Committee at Redcar and Cleveland, and I allow the members who are on the STDC to give some reports back to the committee and other outside bodies. And quite a lot of the time, the issues are labelled confidential, and that's where the scrutiny tends to fall down.
Yeah, totally agree.
Thanks, Chair. I think we can see from the conversation in this room the frustration there is from members, and that frustration has been bubbling away for a couple of years. My only frustration now is I realise and I accept that our way of scrutinising development corporations is through the men.
Yeah.
So we've got access through that process for some openness and transparency. And no disrespect to you, Chair, but I don't think we should be saying we can't do that, because at the moment, the way things are, we can. Not the way we would like to do it, but we have got an access road in. It's only a narrow road,
Yeah.
but it is access to the mayor to try and get some answers. No disrespect to the mayor, I have hesitation about some of the answers that we might get. Not all of them, but some of them. But at least the opportunity is here, when the mayor's in this room, to challenge, request and ask for information about any of the development corporations. We also have access, it's probably maybe through a bit of a back door, is to follow the money through finance. Now you can ask the finance officer and say, what's our relationship with STC? What do we give them? Have you had feedback on how that's being used? So there's still that second opportunity. It's not what I want, it's not what I would like more openness and transparency, but there is a way. And we need to develop that and use that. That will ease some of the pressure in this room and frustration in this room in an open way. I agree with everybody in this room that's spoken. It's not enough, but it's the start. And I think from that, well, how was it? From little acorns do great oaks grow? Well, 5-7 years down the line, we planted the acorn now and it's growing. I think we need to take this opportunity when we can and see how that develops.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, just very quickly, just to move this on really, can I suggest that we invite the mayor to an additional session just to see what the response is, specifically to discuss mayoral development corporation, and then we just see what happens. We can use the opportunity after mayoral question times to raise those issues there as well, but I just think we need to move on.
Well, in the work programme we've got mayoral question time on the 29th of April. We're not sure whether that will go ahead or not. We'll get confirmation on that. We've also got a gap in November where we could get ask the mayor to attend.
Can we make it clear to the mayor that there is in the question section will be about the development corporations?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
3 development corporations.
Rather than, and again, no disrespect to the mayor, but I've been around a long time. When you raise a subject, we've had nothing to do with me, they're separate.
Yeah.
It is very clear now that it is, and he needs to understand that when he comes, that is an area of questioning that will be directed at him.
So I think we can try and get something penciled in for then. No problem at all.
I'll speak to the committee on this. So where there is a concern about the 29th, if we are going to make an approval on the work programme, would you be content if we attempted to move the intended mayoral question time to June? Either doubling onto the intended meeting there, so have the first part of the meeting, then have an MQT for the concerns that have been raised about the pre-election period. With that,
that's what we did last year, so I think probably works well. That.
I think that makes sense, given that
does members agree with that?
I can't attend that meeting at the moment, so I think
we'll generally
change it.
And so as you're aware, we are struggling with quoracy. We have made a quorum meeting, but we are only quorum by 1, and any additional members that may not be able to attend, it may be fruitless if everybody attends and we have to send everyone away. So if you'd prefer to make it as a motion.
So we propose, the proposers will move the mayoral question time from the 29th of April to the 10th of June and have a double meeting on the 10th of June, which is a TVC AGM time.
Sorry, does it have to be a double meeting? Can we not have an additional meeting instead of a double meeting?
Well, we can extend that meeting.
Yeah, so is it will just be the same day? So
I'm just thinking it means we're all here for 4 hours, which...
Shouldn't the AGM be a shortish meeting?
It normally is,
Get through the business quickly. It's only
yeah, so just clarity on that. The intended meeting on the 10th of June is, as part of the terms of reference, to re-establish thematic leads and the chair and vice chair following. So by that point, we will have already had all of your full appointments. So the membership may have changed slightly, but if you recall, we put into the terms of reference that we'd have that opportunity before the TVC AGM meets for you to put forward the chair and vice chair. So we're not waiting until September for an approval point, so the committee can start working in advance. So that is basically a simple vote, and then we can just move into
it's a short meeting.
Oh,
I think
okay, yeah, that's fine.
that would be like half an hour.
Sorry, I just thought you're not going to get the best out of me after a 4-hour meeting.
Apologies, that's not happening.
So that's what I'm proposing. Can we second that, please?
Yeah, I'll second
Seconded. Can we put that in favour?
Great.
Yep. Thank you very much. So we'll do that, Conor. Yeah. Anything else on the work programme?
Just, sorry, can
Yeah.
I just raise a little tiny issue about the 31st of March for Mayor's Question Time next year? Can we just double check whether that
Yeah.
clashes with the pre-election?
I will check.
Pre-election.
Again, we've got the Mayoral Question Time on the March 2027. That will be, or be very close to pre-election period, obviously for everybody. So we may have to revisit that.
This year was called on the
Yeah.
24th of March, so I think it is probably...
Yeah.
So we'll get that checked, and we may have to bring that forward to an additional meeting. Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to thematic scrutiny lead updates, and what I propose to do is we'll go to all the thematic leads and for an update if they have one, and we'll start with Councillor Branson if you've got any news for us, Councillor Branson, on your.
Yeah, I've got we've had various meetings really. We started off looking at digital infrastructure. I've decided that there are two areas we're going to look at. One is the digital infrastructure, the other is the highway structure. Okay. Initial discussion was on the 30th. We had then a committee meeting on 6th of February to look at the digital infrastructure and to determine what the issues were there. Subsequent to that, I had a meeting with Councillor Harper on the 12th of February. We looked at general transport issues, and I think we've tied up most of the issues really in digital. We're moving on to the road transport network, highways basically. We have an introductory meeting on that, and we're really looking to move further on that, to have a committee meeting in the near future. I have in the meantime been to UTC, which is in Middlesbrough in the council offices. It was useful to see how the system operates there. So that's where we're up to at the moment. So we've looked at digital, we're moving on to highways, and we're looking to set up our next committee meeting.
Okay, when you're saying you've looked at digital, can you explain exactly what you mean by it?
Right, the digital infrastructure, we're looking at basically things like the ability to operate a full network, satellite system, coverage that you have in terms of ability to get onto computers, to get onto your phone and what have you. Certain areas of Teesside, that's more of a problem than others, and so we're looking at how we can improve that. We have a little bit of control over that. It's of course to a large extent within the hands of private companies, but we're looking at the digital network. That's basically what we're looking at more than anything else.
Right.
Yeah. I think, Conor, was there anything that you would add to that, or is that straightforward?
No, I think you've pretty much covered it there. Obviously, as you say, the members had a full presentation from the team who circulated information afterwards. What might be helpful is if I send around the presentation to the wider committee of the information that you received, just so they're aware of the conversations that you had with the digital team.
Yeah, that would be useful actually. Thanks very much.
Okay, any questions for Councillor Branson? No, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Littledine, have you got anything on finance?
Thanks, Chair. We met, well, we had our meeting with the finance officer in the group, and it was an absolutely great session with some eye-opening answers and honest and frank answers. And the committee, we had a concern about the level of loans and where that was going, particularly SDTC and the airport. Got a better understanding of the airport's financial position. And I met with the leader of Middlesbrough Council and had a chat with him and listened to his concerns and expressions of interest he had in the finances. And then we were sort of waiting to see what happened with our finance officer before we move on. And I think I'll be arranging another chat with Joe shortly to have a discussion about how we investigate and look at further this authority's position in line in connection with the loans from the airport and this TDC. Just a quick comment on the 100 million. The explanation about the 100 million through your correspondence was honest and frank, really, and giving me a better understanding of what was sort of going on. However, it was not a reflection of the chair of the STDC's opinion when you watch back the feedback from their last meeting. I don't know whether it was sort of confusing what he was saying compared to what we've been told, and the two didn't marry together. So we might, well, we probably will, or I probably will ask some more questions around that. So yeah, now we've not got a change and Joe's still here. I need to have another chat with Joe to see what we can do and where we're going with it. But it is an interesting, my understanding, an interesting position that the increase in the loan payments up to, I think it was 21 or 23 million from 19 could put this authority in quite a financial position that is not a healthy one. So I need to investigate that more around the loan repayments.
Thank you. Any questions for Lee?
Yeah, just if I'm missing something, Ian mentioned correspondence between yourself and...
Yeah, obviously, sorry.
I'm not.
No, obviously because...
what Ian has.
Yeah, Ian's obviously chair of the thematic lead on finance. What I will do, as I said before, I will send all members of the committee the full correspondence I've had with Tom. So I'll forward that on to everybody. I'll ask Connor to do that, so everyone's got a copy of every email exchange that we've had.
On that, Tony, I had no part in any correspondence.
No,
I was just fed that information.
I'm only alive to the fact you say things. I think I'm checking of it.
Yeah.
I'm usually alive to what comes across.
Yeah.
And read about it. I haven't seen that, so I just wanted to.
No, I'll forward everything so everyone's had a chance to read the whole string.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Rachel on education.
So I've met with, first of all, I met with Lisa Evans from Stockton, who's a cabinet member responsible for education, employment and skills. We had a great conversation. I've met with, I got invited to the, what's it called? The Education
Skills Advisory Group.
The advisory group, that's it. So that was eye-opening as well, really. And it kind of reassured me about a lot of stuff that's going on. I think, and then I met with Jackie Banks, yeah, thank you. And Jackie then furnished me with a whole hoard of information, which I did ask for, but it was mind-blowing. So I think one of my focuses, or one of the things I really want to focus on is outcomes, and making sure that we're aware of outcomes. And one of the things I was thinking about obviously I need to drill into that a little bit more, and I think one of the things I was thinking I'd like to focus on is a bit more those people who are in the middle. So we know a lot about young people, and we know a lot about the level 6 sort of qualification type apprenticeships and things like that, but it's those in the middle that I was thinking about drilling into. But yeah, so that's where I'm at really at the moment. Hoping to catch up with the group, the subgroup at some point really to sort of firm up on that really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Again, sorry. Again, I think it's probably worth maybe me getting Jackie to share the documentation with the rest of the group, although there is a huge amount of it. But it was just because I was conscious that since I've been a member of this committee, I've picked up bits and bobs, but there wasn't like a bigger picture, and actually it was really useful though, the stuff she sent me.
I think this is where, as we've sort of discussed about having a SharePoint that would be accessible for all, it would make events like this a lot easier to just say, it's in a link, here's everything, pop in, have a look, here's all the emails.
And to be honest, it was from a shared folder that it was shared.
I'll have a chat with Jackie.
Yeah.
Any questions on education and skills? and employment? No?
Just when
yeah.
we're likely to meet, really, because the
I-
group hasn't met at all.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're looking at topics,
I
but
think-
we haven't had any input into it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the nature of the new way we're doing it with
Yeah.
the thematic leads, to be honest, Lynn. But I was really conscious that we could do with catching up sort of as soon as we can after the election sort of period is done with this agreement.
So hopefully sometime in May, yeah?
Yeah, I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Move on to Lynn.
Yeah, well, not a lot to report, to be honest. So, in terms of business growth, I'm still waiting to see Sarah Walker. That's right, Connor, isn't it? I couldn't get to a very early one when I first took this responsibility on, but then I have sent a couple of emails, so it's trying to get that meeting in terms of business growth. I've asked for a little bit of information on certain things, so that needs to be moved on, and I know Connor's really trying hard to do that. In terms of net zero, I did have an initial meeting with officers. I then wanted some, these subjects are that wide. It's how we pin down what we want and what's relevant for us to scrutinise.
It's good to target something, don't you?
So I did ask quite a while ago, again, for information, a summary on current and planned net zero projects, what sites they're on, what challenges we've got in delivery, how many jobs through construction and then long term, and then how are these current and planned projects linking into the skills agenda. So I've tried to pin down some clear information that I thought was relevant, but I've had nothing back, so I'm still waiting.
So can we ask Sarah to look into that?
I'll pick that up for
And
you.
also will you have words with Sarah Walker to see if
Absolutely.
so Sarah will do that.
I'll pick that up for
And
you.
then I've mentioned about having a task and finish group to look more deeply into. We are promised a lot of thousands of jobs in our documents.
Okay.
Just to look more deeply into, are these projects going to be delivered? If they are, where are they? How many jobs? And we'll probably link into the trained employment
Yeah, the outcome
thematic
angle
group.
of things, okay.
Then
Yeah.
the social value I sort of took on myself a little bit, so it wasn't in the thematic. So again, still waiting for, started off really well, had a meeting with officers. So what I'm trying to get is, so through the contracts, procurement, the contracts we're awarded, my main aim is to see how through scrutiny we can add value to the services so that we can use some of the social value so we can look at the impact in terms of contracts, what's coming in, like we do in the council, 106, and how we can use that to reduce poverty across the Tees Valley. How can we maybe use it to increase the skills of young people? That, I'm not saying we have to do this and that. How can we use it to support the VCS? I just don't know where, following the money, I don't know where some of the social value is going to, if any.
So I think what I wanted to, because there's a few points here to address, and you're right, with the thematic area you have, it is quite all-encompassing. There is a bit more to it, much like the finance. It's a bit here and everywhere. It's not like traditional directorates where you have a bit more oversight because it might just be infrastructure and it might just be housing, you know, so on and so forth. As Sarah agreed to, she's going to chase upon some of the areas. I think one of the conversations we had out of ELT a few weeks ago is that some of these parts are going to different, the kind of reshuffling the responsibilities of directors, because I think I sent an email to you this morning to say that currently we have a few thematic scrutiny leads that sit under the same directorate area, which is obviously pressure on the director. So trying to share the responsibilities so they, as well as the members, have a bit more of an equal opportunity and have conversations, and it might be that the director of inward investment will be taking on the social value work. So I just wanted to be clear on who's going to be responsible for those areas. So when you do have these meetings and the conversation can be held, it's an opportunity then to make sure the right people are around the table, and given current membership. So if you recall, when we circulated at the very beginning, when we introduced the thematic leads, we sent a poll to all members and all substitutes to ask for nomination to the respective areas. So for the business growth and net zero, it is currently yourself, Councillor Blades, Councillor Greavy, and it's more, as you say, we do need to engage, and we'll sense following this meeting to double check and ask if anybody else would be interested in attending it. But I think for my purposes for a subcommittee, it might be just beneficial for us to understand what the membership's going to look like following May, so that midpoint, so then we know for sure how we can progress with it. But as I say, there's quite a few queries here, and I've probably added a bit of confusion there as well. But
And I know you have been trying to move it forward.
But there are things definitely progressing.
And then just the local area energy plan, which is coming in the forward plan in September. I've asked to meet with Alec, who is the lead member on the cabinet for net zero.
Yeah.
We haven't met yet, but I have sent an email.
Alan, I don't know, you said member of the cabinet, Alan. We don't. Alex. Sorry, Alec. Sorry. So that's something you could arrange yourself, is it?
I've sent an email to say can we catch up before September. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Lynn? Are you okay, Tony? You look a bit confused.
No.
Sorry.
I'm reading Glyn's screenshot here of the committee makeup. So.
All right. Okay. Jim.
Thank you. I'm talking about creative.
Jim, can you move a mic closer to you? Sorry.
Yeah. The theme I'm talking about is creative place. Is that working?
Yes.
Yeah. Following the last meeting, I met with Charlie Kemp, who's appears to be the lead officer. I know I think there's been some changes in her role as well within the organisation. There may be some other changes, some other demands on the time, but she's been the lead officer who I'd known from my days as a cabinet lead in Stockton,
yeah.
Involved in culture. So I met with Charlie to get basically to get an understanding of what the architecture was, because there's no committee. There's no subcommittee in the authority, that addresses that subject. So it was to see what was required and what the current architecture is. Although there is a what's it called? It's called the Creative Place Advisory Group, which is made up of a range of representatives from local authorities and the creative industries in the broadest sense of the word, or the expression. And one of the things that I knew was happening was that the initial growth plan around Creative Place had an end date of 2026. I knew that from my previous existence, and my big question was, well, what happens next, and what the preparation is, and in development was a creative industries sector plan, which is going out to consultation in various places, including individual local authorities or the local authorities collectively, in a sense, we sort of earmarked that might, when it's in an advanced draft form, that might become a subject that the Task and Finish group could have a deep dive into, because that's setting the agenda for some years to come. And it's also based on the learning of the evaluation that's taking place around the around the initial growth plan and creative industries. There's a commission piece of work which has produced an interim report, and there's more to be received. I do, often in lots of other places, I won't say I know enough about this to comment here, but in lots of other places I do often question the value of sort of big consultancy fees to do independent, so-called independent investigations, but evaluations. But that's another issue, and I don't know enough about this one to put a definitive comment on that. I also met with Pam Hargreaves, who had newly acquired both the leadership of Hartlepool Council and the portfolio lead of Creative Place. In a sense, I thought we were both on a learning curve around this, we sort of agreed to touch base when we knew a bit more and a bit further down the line, that we might do some of the learning together. For one reason or another, since that initial round of activity in January, February, it's all gone quiet over there. And I don't mean Hartlepool. I mean, it's just like, I've not heard anything directly about how these things have been progressing. I did, on receipt of these papers, think, oh, I ought to check up what's happening, and I have, made an inquiry, which is obviously in the pending tray, or it's only relatively recent. But what I'm suggesting is that, where are we at with these things? Because I'm aware that there is a task and finish group in the waiting, who may or may not be chewing at the bit to get involved, but we don't lose that interest. So where are we at with this creative industry sector plan, so that we can have something of substance to look at. And also, I discovered there's a heritage plan, which is lurking somewhere. Whether it's gone back on the shelf, to gather dust, but it's not been. I'm trying to establish, well, what happened to that? And whether that might be something else to look at. And really, that's it. I don't want to commit a generic fallacy, but just picking up on what was said earlier about the improvement journey. I think there's I sense an improvement journey, but the thing about improvement journeys, it's about changing culture, and culture is a very organisational culture is a very, very difficult nut to crack and to change. That's been my experience over 50 years in public service, as it were. I'm not sure that the changes that we've seen initiated and heard about here have permeated right through the organisation. That's that people realise it is a combined authority. So it's not a private corporation business. It is a democratically founded institution, which has political leadership, and that's not party political. I'm not making a party political point. It has political leadership, and in our own backyards, in our own authorities, I think because they've got decades or centuries of history behind them, people know that, in a sense, it's all part of the induction and everything. It's part of a structure which is democratically led, and I'm not so sure that that's permeated right throughout the organisation. That's a feeling I get.
Can I say, are you aware of the timeline of the public consultation? That might well be the reason why things have kind of come to a halt on that sense.
No, I've not been advised of anything.
Okay, so that's something that we need to. Yeah.
I think it's had its consultation.
Okay, if it's finished then.
I don't know. I know there have been consultations.
Okay, well, if that's finished, then we obviously need to understand the results of that.
Yeah, I was just going to come back and just because obviously, you know, I've heard what Councillor Pallister said and yourself, Councillor Beale, as well, that I'll take away that feedback from yourselves about, you know, contact and following things up. I'll take that back to our next, as a senior leadership team, we meet weekly, so I'll make sure that's discussed at our next meeting and just make sure that you're getting access to what you need to be able to perform your roles on this committee, and also as the kind of thematic leads as well, and that you have the right access to officers as and when, so that you can get what you need to be able to perform your functions. So I'll take all of that away.
I know it's a level of detail, but I've also made another suggestion, which is this creative place advisory group. Everything seems to go through them.
Okay.
How much influence they have and how much is their advice taken on board is another issue.
Yeah.
But everything seems to go through them. So I've said if I could be copied into the
Yes.
papers for that, at least I might get a heads up
Absolutely.
that there's something around
Yeah.
that I might want to ask a few more questions
Yeah.
about.
And possibly similar to
I don't want to be a member of it.
attend,
I don't want to be a member of it.
I
But
was just about to suggest maybe you want to, you could maybe attend the meeting, but if,
well,
you know, but
I'd,
if, you know, if we at least we can give the
I'd
papers for that.
reserve that option, but I'd
Yeah.
rather get a feel of, you know.
Not trying to.
On the other thing, Jim, can I say that the senior leadership team in the last 12 months has changed dramatically here at the Combined Authority. We're still 2 members short of that senior leadership. So we've got interims on 2 of the positions. We did interview last month, and sadly we didn't find the right candidate. But hopefully that will be solved soon. And once it is, then obviously the new leaders will then spread it to the rest of the organisation. So yeah, you're right. Things are improving. There's no doubt about that. But I think until we've got the full leadership team in place, it's going to, you know, it'll be at least after that point before everybody starts to start singing the same hymn book.
Can I just make one
Yeah,
sorry,
of course.
sorry,
Yeah, all right.
Ian had his hand up then. Just one more comment. I did ask the committee before, because they are quite broad, the net zero and the business growth. Is there any specific areas that the committee want me to focus on? So I'm not going off on some sort of tangent myself.
Well, I'm really into, just a personal opinion. When you talk about net zero, my interest is houses and having them be
Energy efficient.
yeah, energy efficient and obviously cheaper to run, and that obviously is a huge part of net zero in my opinion. That's something I'm interested in, and I don't know if anyone else has got any opinion.
Just, well, on that, this maybe helps with on that. I think, looking at the forward plan, the next 2 cabinet meetings will be of real interest to members of this committee and the thematic parts of the committee. There are updates and key decisions in the next 2 cabinet meetings. Local growth plan, skills programme, youth guarantee are all going to be decisions. Updates on the loans. And then in June, the home strategy is on.
Yeah.
So I think the next 2 cabinet meetings paperwork, and we all read them.
Yeah.
You know, they come and we're keen to get them 265 pages read. But they will be of great interest. I genuinely think they'll be of great interest to members who have a thematic role. It gives us an opportunity, possibly, to call in or get an input.
Yeah, well, I attend all cabinet meetings as chair of this
You
committee.
can't speak.
Yeah, well, no, actually the mayor always asks me.
And you get thrown out.
No, actually, I sit at the table, the cabinet table.
When he gets to
No.
private thing, they
No,
don't
no,
throw
no.
you out anymore.
No.
Good God.
And the mayor always asks everyone on the table, including myself.
Yeah.
So we are included.
You didn't ask me.
But I think you had a really awkward meeting, didn't you?
I
I
did
went
have
for
an
a long,
awkward
long
meeting.
time. Sadly, I was away one meeting and Rachel
So you are, Rachel?
No, they didn't
Just
throw me
used
out.
to be me, innit?
Yeah, it's just you.
I was just going to quickly come in on the net zero point. When we had the introductory session, Councillor Pass, if you remember, I think it was Francis provided some details on housing and some of the retrofitting work they're doing. So I think generally this committee might just benefit from an informal online session, just because a lot of the details I myself wasn't aware of. So I think it's quite handy. So you're aware, you see the association with Net Zero Teesside, but actually the wider net zero intentions of the authority. So that's something I could look to arrange like an informal session.
Purely on a tangent, but when you're at the cabinet meetings, do you notice if there's a vote, and when there is a vote, what sort of configuration is that vote?
Well,
And does it ever get to
depending on the subject is
overrule the
I'm only aware of once when the mayor overruled, which was a request from this committee regarding a youth forum, and the 5 cabinet members all voted in favour, but the mayor overruled it. As far as I'm aware, that they're still doing further work on that, which Conor might have an update on that.
So I think what's worthwhile pointing out here, the mayor only has a negative veto in the sense of he can utilise his powers to say no to an item, but he can't force an item to go through. So he might say yes, and if there isn't the correct majority or voting principles there. But I think one of the massive pieces of work that's being delivered by Jodie outside in this consultancy capacity is a review of the Constitution, and that is referenced in the next item also, that call in, choruses, generally things that are outside of the typical, like that, sorry, I should rephrase, items that are specifically for the control of the combined authority and its constitution is being reviewed by Jodie. Obviously everything that is legislatively mandated will still remain the same other than the caveats that are added. But as I say, the cabinet vote system will be set out in each of the papers, so you'll notice now on the report front page it will say if there is a specific voting arrangement required. So certain items will require full approval, unanimous approval from cabinet for them to be passed, and I believe budget might be an example of that. So it will set out from the offset. As I say, the mayor can only use his veto in the next capacity. The cabinet would have to meet the approval threshold for items to go over that line.
Okay, David?
Yeah, to take up Lynn's point, business growth and net zero does link into transport in quite a significant way. And maybe, Lynn, that may be something you want to take into consideration, the transport implications, specifically the extent to which we can encourage people to use public transport, not to use individual transport cars, and also whether we should be looking at replacing petrol-driven, diesel-driven cars with encouraging the move to electric cars, and the implication that has in terms of charging facilities. So there are overlaps here as what we do. What we're doing at the moment, we're moving on to looking at the highway structure. We have in our previous subcommittee had a look at specifically public transport, trains and buses. But if we start looking even at the highway structure, there is some link into how do you provide, for example, a highway structure that benefits use of buses, for example, bus lanes and things like that. Yeah. So you might want to look at how transport can help you get towards net zero, if that's of use to you.
Can I have gyms instead?
You wanted it, you could have it, Lynn.
Obviously, that's a discussion for you two chairs rather than...
I think maybe me and Lynn will...
Yeah, if you can do that, then.
If we contact each other, I'll contact you afterwards.
Perfect, thank you.
Contact details.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to the scrutiny protocol and the recommended tracking. Back to Conor. He's on holiday this week, believe it or not, so this is how he spends his holidays.
Couldn't keep away, could I? Right, scrolling back up. So again, I will take the report as read. I think what we intend to do is just to provide a bit of a brag rating for you all on sort of understanding of the progression against the protocol. Discuss these in advance. There are a lot of items that were already signed off with sort of green status because they were considered fulfilled. It's on the basis of the original Centre for Governance and Scrutiny review that took place. For members' awareness, we are looking to have the Centre come back in and do a immediate follow-up review to, from their own understanding, say to us how they feel we've progressed against the recommendations that they've made. However, it's helpful for the committee against the protocol's adoption to sort of self-certify, and we're going to build this into the annual report. A lot of combined authorities that have adopted the scrutiny protocol will now do some actions against at the end of the year to say where they are at with progressing. One of the key things I wanted to discuss is, as you will be aware, originally Principle 8 remuneration status had been deferred. The stage of that now is we have started the process of an RRP. We do have the membership. There is a update report going to Cabinet on the 24th of April. As detailed in the appendix to the scrutiny protocol update, we had a bit of a challenge that a lot of IRPs were purely independent members, so getting contact details. So for one of the members, I had to ask a colleague in Greater Manchester to ask a colleague in Southport to simply just, went through the connection statuses in order to get access to some of this information. So we are on track. We have some queries that are being re-established, and we're hopeful that we'll get the IRP up and running by the end of May, and a report to be provided in June to Cabinet, or at the earliest convenience following that. It's not currently on the going forward plan because we've only just started the conversations, and we will see, as required, what's going on there. So going back to the main body of the report, as the recommendation provides, you're asked to consider progress made in implementing the scrutiny protocol, and identify any further actions or areas required for continued oversight. So pass back to yourself, Jim.
Yeah. But we haven't got any red, which is a good thing, and we've only got 3 amber. All the rest are green. So the 3 amber is pool of members, which is still a work in progress. I presume. I guess we're not going to sort that out until after the elections in May. Yeah. The next one is obviously we just spoke about the remuneration and status, which is what that's progressing. And the last one is provision to call in. Any update on that?
So this is obviously as part of the wider works on the Constitution. So I think where we need to get to is, once we're at a position that the draft is available for the intentions for the call-in procedures, we get those to the committee straight away. Obviously it's worth noting that there are elements of this that have been amended following the decision-making article adoption sent Cabinet. So there are areas of this that have been covered, but the actual main bodies of text in the Constitution still will have some wording amended. So I think once the articles fully adopted and the references that were left out of there are added, and then the phrasings within the Constitution amended, because as the committee's already agreed to the threshold of 500k, you have lowered the threshold of the amount of decisions that you can now call in. So I do think it's on the horizon, and obviously it'll be subject to the committee to then decide that you're happy, that you're satisfied that that provision has been fully adopted and it's appropriate for the committee.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Conor on that? No, thank you.
Calling needs to be in place before June.
We're in the hands of
Can you tell them
legal
Tottenham scheming?
but it's an amber, but it's not red.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's an amber, so at least it's not red. Okay, thank you. Can we note that report? Moving on to delegated or urgent decisions. Again, it's the report. We'll take the report as read. Anybody got any questions on that? No, thank you. Okay, and that completes the agenda. Have you got anything, Conor, before we...
Just to say, obviously, it did say on the agenda that the next meeting would be the 29th of the RC as discussed. It will be the 10th of June.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get the amendments out for that.
Yeah, yeah, change the paperwork, because obviously now we're not meeting on the 29th of April because of pre-election period, and we'll meet again in June. Okay, and Conor will send that email chain out for all members to read.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Question for the Redcar and Cleveland members. Have you any idea what the park and ride's for? Tees worker thingy? Is it, as Mr. Houchin says, for the tradesmen to pull up in their vans, load all their tools, put them on a bus and go to work?
Can you take that outside the meeting, because it's not really relevant to this meeting?
What was that? Question right. Yeah. Didn't say that'd be relevant, yes?
Okay, thanks very much. I'll close the meeting. Thank you.